There's something undeniably powerful about running long distances, especially when you're not doing it just for the finish line, but for your mental health, for your identity, and for your peace of mind. Hey all. Hey all. I'm Mark Vega. This is a Run Long After 60 podcast. So glad you've joined us. Thank you for being here. I first met David James Dix on Instagram. His handle is old_get_running, old_get_running. And I like to do these intros, as you know, while I'm running, because I get inspired after the interviews usually, and I just literally have to get out and run. And I'm so excited to speak with people. And same is true for this one, but this old get running, David James Dix, really put a smile on my face. I feel like we're kindred spirits, primarily though, because we slowed down essentially and we started talking about mental health. And mental health ended up becoming the focus of the conversation, and it was just fantastic. I can't get enough of it. This guy lives in the UK, and he works. He's got a day job, and he runs when he can. But he runs the fells, right? He goes on track, but usually he's out in nature. He's running the fells, and he's run some really long distances, including most recently he really wanted to do the Australian UTA 100K, and he just did that, and quite proud to have done just that. Now this guy's not 60 yet, so let's give him a little leeway here, but he's barreling towards 60, and as many of us are. I mean, if we're born in the 60s, this is our decade. We turn 60 this decade, and so here we go. But I know the reason that our conversation strayed into, or we focused on mental health and ADHD, and I didn't realize how much I would talk to. So it was a real conversation. We dug into ADHD, and he had hallucinations at the 100-mile mark, and I have yet to run my first 100, but I have those same doubts and fears and thoughts when I'm running long distances, right? It's that self-talk that can either help you or save you or sabotage you. Same versions on my long runs, right? The one who doubts or just keeps climbing. And as you listen, I hope you get the chance to reflect on this. I mean, what if running wasn't just part of your training plan? What if running was part of your mental health plan? Now this podcast is all about strength and resilience and having the freedom to redefine what we can do at any age. Like what's possible, that's really up to us. So if this resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel, like the content, press the notification bell, and best of all, leave a comment. Let us know, what drives you forward. Why would you run long after 60? Or why would you run long after 60? Or what role does mental health play in your running? And maybe the better question, what role does running play in your mental health? Okay, that's it. Are you ready? I'm really excited about this. I think it's time for the old get running. It's time for David James Dix. Let's go. Let's go. David James Dix, welcome, my friend, to the show. It's really good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's good to be here. Yeah, thanks for inviting me along.
Yeah, of course.
David.
Is it David?
Dave, or Dixie, a lot of people call me, so nicknames.
Call you Dix. Okay, good. All right, David or Dix, and I'll throw them all out. And occasionally I'll call you an old git, I think. All right. This podcast is about people like as they get older, we still do crazy hard things. So set us up a little bit, David. Like, do you still run long distances? And what's your deal? What's your lifestyle as it relates to long distance running and adventures?
So yeah, I still do long distance. I've just completed the UTA 100 in Australia. Lifestyle wise, I don't train enough.
We can pause that, everybody who's hearing that, because how cool is that? Dude just rolls it off his tongue. Oh, I just did the so wait, just I wanna hear the whole thing, but wait, UTMB, that's 100K you did, right? We'll get back to that in a
Yeah,
minute. Keep
yeah,
talking
yeah.
though, keep talking. Okay, so what other run what's your lifestyle about long distance running?
I just enjoy. I got into running 10, 12 years ago. Don't like tarmac. Didn't enjoy the short stuff. Always hated people asking me what time you got, what. And you find with the ultra running community, you don't get that. You know, you just get congratulated for finishing, whether you're first, last, somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I don't know. I think most ultra runners, you've got to have something a bit warped in your brain because they're horrible. But then 3 days later, you're looking for your next hit, and you try and explain that to a non-runner, they just look at you as if you've lost your marbles.
That is the truth. Is there anything else in your life? You're not 60 yet. I know that, right? I've done the
No,
math. So, but you're in your 50s.
no.
Is there anything else that you've done in your life where where people say you're doing what? You're doing for how long? What are you doing?
And no, just ultras, yeah, nothing else at work. So I've got a physical job, so, which is why I don't get the training in like I should. And I think that's what throws people the most because I don't do that many long runs. And then I'll go and do an ultra.
What's your work?
And
What kind of work do you do? What do you do physically? Like what kind of work do you do? Or what do you do?
I install kitchens, contract kitchens, so in new houses in the UK.
Okay. Yeah, how long you been doing that?
7 years now. So I've always been practical carpenter. So I suppose I get quite a bit of my fitness from my job, which is a good thing. But then, being the age I am, I'm quite often get home from work and the last thing I want to do is put on a pair of trainers and go for a run.
Yeah. So how do you stay motivated? What do you do to motivate yourself to get out there and put on the shoes?
Just knowing that if I don't, I am going to suffer. And it's come the weekend, you'll get me out. So I live in the English Lakes, the Lake District. So it's very mountainous, not as mountainous as some parts of the world. And the scenery is great, and there's nothing better than going out, getting up to the top of a nice hill, getting a good view, and especially when you're surrounded by walkers that have just spent 3 hours and you've spent 3/4 of an hour stomping up, and then you just run off. It's the best feeling in the world.
Are you so you're very close to those? Like when you do you have to get in a car? You have to put in your shoes, get in a
Yeah,
car, and go somewhere to run and
yeah, it's about 30 minutes, 40 minutes to the closest fells, and then I'm quite lucky because of my job. I drive through the lakes on the way home, so I'll quite often put my running gear in, and if I finish work early enough, I'll just get changed in a lay-by and go for a run somewhere.
oh, that's awesome. That would be a great scheduling and like attribute. So you finish work and take off.
Yeah, because quite often, if once I've got home and I've sat down with a cup of tea or coffee, that's it. The last thing I want to do. It's better just to get it done. And
Yeah, and get back out there. Do you ever get up? Do you ever work out or run in the morning?
very rarely, because I'm an early start. I'm normally up at 5 a.m. and I'm on the road by 6 a.m. So I really don't fancy getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go for a run.
Right.
I'm envious of
Right.
people that can do that. They've got the schedule, they can do that. I'm very envious.
So on the weekends and or whenever you're not on a work day, but you have a run, do you run in the morning or do you take the same like afternoon, time to run?
It depends on what's on. Quite keen on park runs. I know they're short, but they're 5K of sprinting in my mind. And it's great for a workout, so I quite often do them. But then I can do a longer run in the afternoon, and then probably on a Sunday I'll start a bit later, but do a 15, 20 mile run.
Do you work with a trainer, or have you ever worked with a trainer or a coach, or you never?
I've tried, but because of my work, I can't keep to a schedule. I can't go, well, Wednesday I've got to do 30 miles because if I end up finishing work late, it's just not going to happen. So it proves kind of impossible. I have a very loose training schedule.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure, but many people, no matter what kind of work or lifestyle they have, it feels like it's a big accomplishment to just at least try to get in something longer on the weekends, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I do have some guys who I know who work, like their weekends is like Tuesday and Wednesday, right? They work but on Tuesday and Wednesday, that's their weekend.
Uh,
So they get to put in
yeah.
some long runs, right? You said something at the outset about the tarmac. So did you, and you doing a 5K, I agree, like on a park run, that's going to be training. But have you ever run marathons, or like, have you ever run a long race on the street on the tarmac?
I've only ever done one road marathon, and that was Florence, in Italy. And I
Whoa.
enjoyed it up till 23 miles, and then the wheels just completely fell off. Yeah, and I almost walked the last 3 miles. And it kind
But
of put me
did
off.
you cross the line? But you crossed the line.
Oh
It
yeah,
sounds
across
like.
the line. Yes, yeah. I finished.
How did you come to Florence? What a cool, like, we just happen to be there. Like, oh, I'm going to do the marathon. Like, what? How'd
No,
that
well,
happen?
it was somebody in a local run club wanted to do it. It was their important birthday. It was their 40th or something. I might have that wrong, but they've always wanted to do it. So there was a group of us just went, and initially I wasn't going to be doing it, but my partner at the time put her back out about a week before the race, um, and we managed to transfer it to my name.
Wow.
So a week before it was like, well, okay, I'm doing the Florence Marathon now. So luckily I'd been training for another event, so it wasn't as if I was completely unprepared.
What is that like? I don't think I've ever heard of anyone talk about the Florence Marathon. Is it a big deal? Like, what's the?
It's Well, it's such an iconic city. So I love my architecture and stuff, and it's a very religious city. And it's just amazing in the city. The buildings are just intense, and Europe-wise, it's apparently one of the iconic marathons to do.
Okay, so I'm looking it up now. Yeah, I can't really even imagine how big was it? A few thousands of people? Like, is
But yeah,
it?
yeah. It was a big event. It was a wave start, so yeah,
Wow, okay. Big enough for that. So,
yeah.
and it was, you only did after, because the wheels fell off at 23, was it because you weren't used to it, or you were exhausted, or you weren't prepared? What happened? I'm glad you
It,
finished though, because also that's for me. I'm like, look, as long as I don't get pulled off the race or I break a bone, I'm going to finish unless they kick
yeah.
me off.
No, I'm exactly the same. I have DNF'd some races, but never on the first attempt. That's my biggest achievement. Every ultra I've done, the first time I've done it, I've always finished. For the same reason you just said, unless literally bones are sticking out of my skin, or I'm gonna finish.
So,
I,
so
I, I tend to go as hard as I can for as long as I can, because I know at some point I'm just gonna start walking. So I try and get as far into the race as I can before that happens, and then I know I've got plenty of time to walk it in if I have to.
right. So I jumped around. I'm looking at Ultra Sign Up, and again, I can't tell exactly, but the first one I see, this can't be true, but there's got to be a great story here. So, like, the very first race, usually when anybody logs into Ultra Sign Up and you look at their races, like, I'll be, it's like a 50K or 30K or trail marathon, right? But
Yeah.
if I have the right guy here, and of course maybe there's a couple of different persons, but was your first event the Arc of Attrition?
No, not quite. That was my third.
Okay, but you ran the 100-mile race called the Arc of Attrition. Is that you? That's you.
And yes, I have. I've actually done it 4 times, DNF twice, finished twice.
Okay,
And
it only registers the finishes, and there's no DNFs here that say it. So,
yeah.
okay. All right. Was that your first 100-miler?
That was my first 100 miler. So the story behind the arc, so when I first got into ultras, I decided to do one called Lakes in a Day, which is 50 miles in the lakes. And you start
Okay.
one end of the Lake District, over the mountains, finish at the other 50 miles. And I was
Beautiful.
going to do it for charity. My brother was diagnosed with leukemia at the time, so I thought, okay, I'm never going to do an ultra again. Let's do it for charity, do it for a good cause. So I did a 32-mile one in race prep. Did Lakes in a Day and said, that's it, I'm never doing an ultra again. That was horrible. And then
And then,
the Arc of Attrition popped up because I've got friends that live in Cornwall. I used to live in Cornwall for a while. And they were like, oh, you want to try this? 100 miles, middle of English winter, which is horrendous. And I did it, and I finished it.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You said do it, and you looked at it. You knew it was the middle of winter. You knew it was 100. You knew you already said, I'm done. But then you still said yes. Like, do you remember that? Do you remember talking
I
to
do.
yourself? What am I doing? Like, but I'm going to do it.
I remember thinking this just doesn't seem right, but there was a part of my brain going, "Oh, that looks like a real challenge. That does." And then the worst thing for me, and I find this more and more now with ultras, is if the previous year there was, say, a 50% dropout, that's an incentive to me because I think, right, so for some reason, the tougher it is, and the Arc of Attrition is, well, it's now a UTMB event because it's that good an event, and I would say it's probably the second toughest race I've ever done
Oh,
because it's you
when?
literally start on the south coast of Cornwall, which is the bottom left-hand bit of the UK, and you literally run all the way around the coast past Land's End, and then you finish on the north coast after about 103 miles.
When is the last
And
time you did that? I have it here, like in 2019, but
I actually was on the start line this year. I overextended my left knee at about mile 16, and I tried running it off, got to the first checkpoint and saw the medics, and they basically told me not to carry on.
okay. The bone
Uh,
wasn't sticking out, but you're like, you're going to do
it
serious
was
damage if you keep
it was
going.
just getting worse, and they looked, and there was a lot of swelling, and they just said that it's just too. If it was further into the race, I would have probably carried on, but it was less than a quarter of the race I'd done. And at that point, I would have been chasing cut-offs. So it was a case of carry on and possibly really do some damage and still not finish because I get timed out, or just call it a day there and then. And I also knew I had the race in Australia coming up, which was way more important to me. So I didn't want to jeopardize that.
Had you had that sort of question to yourself on a race up to that point in time, knowing all those facts, knowing the body, knowing what the medics say, knowing you got this other race? That's almost a set of luxuries. Let me call it that for a minute, right? Because you've been running long enough to know those things are all important. What the body
Yeah,
says, what the medic says, and what your schedule is, right? So was this the first time where you had to do that calculation? Like, okay, after all those things,
yeah, yeah. And it wasn't an easy decision because before normally I would just happily carry on.
well, that's why I asked. Your attitude, your whole MO, your modus operandi seems to be, I feel it this way too. Like, unless my bone's sticking out, or unless I'm so slow that they are not going to let me continue.
Yeah,
And that happened to me once too. I got a DNF, same thing. And before I knew I didn't know that was a thing. Actually, I came in so excited about this checkpoint, running up at the top of the hill, number 555 coming in hot, and everybody at the aid station was so, like, they were just morose, they were depressed, and I felt like some bad thing had happened. Maybe I can help. Guy comes and puts his hand on my shoulder and says, sorry man, you didn't make it. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm right here. No, number 555, I'm ready. And then he puts his other hand on my shoulder and he says, I'm sorry, man, you were too slow. You timed out. We're pulling you off the course. And until that second, David, I just didn't know. I just didn't know. And I didn't know that was a
no,
thing. And in my
yeah,
head, I thought there were people behind me. I mean, I couldn't be the very last guy, but apparently I was the very last guy.
right, okay,
Right.
blimey, yeah.
So when you, after all these races, and now you really, UTMB is no joke. This 100K, this thing in Australia, this is a real deal. How many months separated the UTMB race from this race, the Arc
Well, that
race?
was end of January, so 4 months, 4.5 months.
Oh, man, that's an easy decision. I mean, easier than it would have been if the race was in September.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If it had been a good 8, 12 months away, I would have probably made a different choice. But
Well, I don't know. They
four
told
months,
you don't go. When the medics say
yeah,
don't go, they're worried about liability. Like, this guy's going to drop. I mean, we don't know, right? That's the
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
If you don't go,
But yeah, and if it had been the first time I'd done the event, my decision might have been different. But because I've already done it previously, and to be honest, I wasn't going to do it again. But it was my friend's 50th last year,
Right.
and
Right.
he's never completed it. So it was like, right, we're doing it one last time. So I was like, yeah, okay. And to be honest, out of 5 of us, none of us finished. So it was quite,
Still okay, a unified non-finish. That is
yeah,
tough, but
all for different reasons, but yeah,
I think I'm pointing out, and it's really good to look at you, at your face, and hear you when you tell the story, and that how much experience people have as runners. I think that's how you know. I think that's how you really know if you're an ultra runner, because you've done enough races where, like, okay, this is layered. It's not just me running up to like an idiot up there, like, hey man, here I am. They're like, sorry, dude, you don't even know the rules yet. I'm like, what? So anyway, I learned, right? So if you're coming in at 16 miles too, that's like if you were at 58 miles or 64 miles or whatever, it's much
yeah,
different than 16 miles. You're like, all you're thinking is like every step you there could be real damage. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And plus doing the event before, I know what's coming up as well.
Right. So
Yeah,
I love that you said that I think when we messaged before that, yeah, you haven't DNF'd a start the first time you've tried a race, right? You haven't done it. So this is so interesting, and looking at sports science and all, there's a lot of books. This guy, Alex Hutchinson, The Explorer's Gene, one of my newest favorite new books. He did another book called Endure. And there's something about when we accomplish a thing, like you did, you've gone to the Arc before, and we know a little bit about it. We see what it takes. We know what it's about. And you, because it was your friend, you wouldn't gonna do it again, but there was a reason for you to say, okay, in this case, I'll do this again. I think, as I understand it, we cannot get rid of the data. You knew you did it before. You knew you did it a couple times. You knew it was one of the hardest things you've done. You're willing to do it for your friend, but UTMB, you're not going to mess around with that, because that's a real, that's a big league kind of a race. I guess UTMB seems to be making a lot of that.
yeah,
So you learned, you just had more data than you had ever had before. And it's
yeah, exactly.
quite mature. It's mature and it's freaking smart that you were like, okay, given the data, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's still never a good thing. Yeah,
Is it?
I
I
had to
think
face
it's just a
facts and just
story, man. No, I don't. I'm not going to accept that. That sounds like you don't need to judge it like it was a wrong thing. You fucking did a smart thing. It tells your friend. It tells anybody who's listening, like, oh, this guy's clearly an ultra runner. He's like wants to do it again. He's going to come back. He's not going to do something that's going to injure himself forever. He's not going to take himself out of the game. He's just taking
yeah,
himself out of this game, out of this
just that
content.
one.
Right? This is the
Yeah.
one. So when's the last, before we get to the 100K, the most recent UTMB, when's the last time you ran 100 miles? I'm looking for this.
Last summer
And
might not be on there.
okay. Yeah, there's only a handful of races, so it makes me feel like I'm getting cheated. I wanted to see I want to see all this stuff, man. Where do you
The word
where do you keep track of your data? Is it UTMB, or if it's not ultra sign up, where do you,
no with
at
the
UTMB, where do you keep it?
well, all the UTMB index ones will be on there. I do use Strava, but then that's it. But there's no official site unless there are UTMB indexed race, which 13 Valleys might be. That there isn't really anywhere. So I'm presuming the site you're on is a US based site, is it? For
Yeah, it's called Ultra Sign Up, and you are
right,
all the
okay,
UTMB races, even Arc of Attrition before it was UTMB, that's on there too. Probably because as they assumed it, they upload, they make sure all of the past things might be on there too. Maybe, I'm not sure,
right,
but
okay.
so that was another thing when I saw what you were competing in. So what was the 100-mile race that you did last year?
Well, it was 120, so it's the longest race I've done.
Okay,
And that's the 13 Valleys in the Lake District. It's a relatively new event.
the 13 Valleys.
13 Valleys, yeah. There's about 4 or 5 different distances, but the 13 Valleys is the longest one.
120, did you say? How long was it? How long is the
Yeah,
mile?
120 miles.
What time of year is that? Is it in the summer or the spring, winter?
I think it was September time, August,
Okay.
September time.
How do you prepare for a 120-mile race? You'd never gone that far. Why did you sign up to do it because you'd never done that far, or what, or because it was a new race, or what was the reason? Why'd you get into that?
Pretty much that. It's a new race. I think it was its second year, maybe its third year. It's the longest distance. It was on my doorstep, so there was no travelling involved. And like I said before, with that race, it was the dropout. It was an over a 65% dropout the previous year, and so that was the big incentive for me. That right, okay, I don't want to be in that 65%. That means it's tough.
Have you ever run on the course at all? Like any part of it, or
Parts of it. In previous races and training, because obviously it's my playground, the Lake District.
So that was September of 2024 or September 2023?
24, so yeah, last year.
Wow. Okay. All right. Did you prepare differently for the 120-mile distance and knowing it was so hard and you were going to get shredded, or?
Not really. The only thing I did do different was I actually recce'd 2 or 3 elements, which is not something, I normally don't get a chance to do it because they're not on my doorstep, so it's harder. And I'm not a great believer in wrecking races. Basically, the way my brain works, I don't like to know what's coming up. If there's a big hill coming up, that's fine. I'll stomp it. If I know it's coming up, I'll spend the 5 miles before just building myself up, stressing myself out, thinking I've got a big hill and my legs are shot, I'm not going to make it. So a lot of it's a psychological thing. I've got friends I run with and they insist on wrecking every inch of the course because that's how they cope with it and deal with it. With me, it's not.
When did you realize that part, that element, it might not have been even with running, but that if you had your choice, you'd rather kind of go into it cold. You'd probably studied the maps and looked at it, but right, or you looked at it a little bit, or you researched it somehow.
Yeah.
Has that always been a part of you as a younger man, like that kind of approach to things?
Probably, yes. And the one thing, so part of me, I've recently been diagnosed with one of the ever-growing numbers of people diagnosed with ADHD, which makes a big sense of a life. But that, I think, is part of it. So it's trying to avoid anxiety trigger point. And me, I think, especially with the running, it was after I did events for more than once. So the second time I'd do them, I'd have that issue where I'm thinking, right, my thighs are shot and I've got a big downhill coming, and I'd just get stressed, and that's when I'm more likely to death. So the one I've just done in Australia, if I'd have wrecked the last 15K, I would have hated every minute of it because it was just steps. But because I don't know it's coming up.
We're going to get to that because I'm so excited to hear your take. But it feels so good, James. Thank you, David. Thank you for this. That it's just getting to know a person. And I think it's because we're older. I mean, I was diagnosed with ADHD a long time ago and I disregarded it. I didn't believe it. I'm like, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm just very organized. I don't need that shit, but I'm just organized. And and I forgot about this thing, and it's very serious, and there's no doubt about it. It's very serious, right? But my wife, some time ago, maybe years, she reminded me. She's like, Mark, you're acting like you don't know this. I'm like, wait, what? That was a thing. And so, sure enough, I then learned a lot more about it. And as I get older, it's just better to be aware of all the things that are me. Right. And that the reason I pointed out Alex Hutchinson's The Explorer's Gene, for me, it's a book. Recently, I found a puzzle piece for me, and that is very similar, tracking along lines about what you said. So that when I do a race, something I've never done before, I'm feeling like life's too short, and I don't know how many more, Thanksgivings I'm going to have. I'm sure it's going to be many, many, many. However, once I did it, it was hard, whether I recce'd it or not, whether I knew it. I did all the training. I love that part. I love the training. I love a target. I love a goal. I like to accomplish what you've accomplished. Knock on wood, I have too. When I set out to do something big, I do it. I finish it. I don't get kicked off the course. So I'm very happy with that. So I love that that's how you stated it very well. And I'm certain now that I look at you and listen to you, I bet I would have that same thing. If I go back to the same race, I'm going to pull up what happened before. Even if I completed the race, I'm going to
Yeah.
have little bits and pieces where like, oh, that was a fucker. That was not, excuse me, that was no good. That
Yeah.
was crazy, right? So I think part of why I now select races, I just do stuff I've never done before. And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be longer distance. It doesn't mean that, but just like I've now done a backyard. I haven't done, there's a lot of different types of formats I haven't done, and they're hard. I love that they're super hard. I love that's very interesting to me. And I try to pick races that might feel just at the edge of can I do it? Not can others do it, because clearly thousands of people have already done it.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I do it? Right. So, so I love that, and the way you retell that. Um, if I had a friend though that had an issue, but wanted a birthday or something, and they would say it's going to go back there, it would be hard to say no, because you want to, you're going to support your friend. But my brain, and just as you describe your brain, like it would really have to take a lot of deliberate, conscious effort on my part to just not let that happen. I have to think of it a different way. I have to tell my internal self-talk is like, no, that hill wasn't the worst part of the race. It was the best part of the race, because without that hill, I wouldn't have felt so great in accomplishing the finish, or blah, blah, whatever it is, right? It's for
Yeah.
me, not for someone else.
Turning it around. Yeah.
Right. So, but go back to 120 miles though, like you knew you were going to do at least 20 miles more than you'd done before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do for those extra 20 miles? Like extra snack? Like how did you?
It's just a case of getting the head down and going for it. In most races I do, once I get to the halfway point, mileage wise, my brain always goes, right, it's further to go back now than it is to keep going. So just keep going. It's one foot in front of the other. And the good thing about the 121 is the last 20 miles was literally on my back door. The routes I've run no end of times. So I just
That's
knew
cool.
when I get here, even though I don't like wrecking, I did know that I'm going to have a nice view there. So if I'm struggling, I can just have a stop, look at the view and go, yeah, beautiful country. And it was just stomping in those last 20 miles. And they were the hardest 20 miles of my life. But
wow.
and I was destroyed at the end of it. I couldn't run at the end. Normally you find the energy from somewhere to jog over, and it wasn't. No.
When did the race start? At what time of day? And so when you were just limping over the line, or however you came in, what time of day was it when you finished?
It was just after lunchtime on the Sunday, and I think it started Friday evening. So you actually run through 2 nights.
Were you by yourself, self-supported, or with aid crew, or pacers, or how did you do that?
My partner at the time was out supporting, but it was quite a strict race. They didn't really allow support crews. You could have supporters out, but there were people that were penalised because they were given food and drink by others.
Okay. It's like, did you have drop bags and aid stations, or how did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're very well stocked, good aid stations. And then I think it was about the halfway point you could get a drop bag sent. So you could have clean clothes, extra gels, whatever, nutrition.
Did you do that? Did you do all that?
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I learned quite a long time ago, if you've got the option of a drop bag, especially with the English climate, it's very wet. So there's nothing better than if you can put on dry shoes and dry socks. It's better than having a bath. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
When you're suffering, it's the small things in life, the jelly baby, or
right.
The banana's not gone brown because it's not been sat in your pack for 60 miles, that sort of thing.
Right, exactly. I love the starting on a Friday night, going to over 2 nights. That's interesting. But I really love the idea that you were able to come in on Sunday afternoon. Like there's something cool about that. Like if it was nighttime, because it sounds like it was already hell. So
Yeah.
it was hell and it was nighttime and no one's out there or whatever. Like it just feels like it might make a difference. So how did you, why was it so hard the last 20 miles? Like you couldn't walk, your feet were dumb, you had
It was,
blisters, you were like, what happened?
yeah, just leg shot. It's normally my quads that go, my thighs, because of all, this is a lot of downhill. Doesn't matter what training I do, what extra I put in, and then it's just painful. And it's quite a regular thing with ultra runners because it's hard to condition your body for that. So it was a case of, and you're just looking at your watch, and the miles are ticking down so slowly. You're
Oh,
looking, thinking, well,
no, you're
I
looking
must
at
have
your
done,
watch.
I
My
must have done
God.
2 miles, and you've done half a mile, and you're like, oh, right, just keep going. And then with that one in particular, because it was 2 nights, it's the longest one I've done. I was just hallucinating all over the place. There was dogs in the wall.
What was happening?
There was literally animal. The grass looked like a cow, but it actually looked like a cow. And you're like, and you just keep telling yourself, no, it's just in your head, Dave. It's fine. Just keep going.
Did you have anybody to talk with? Was anybody running with you where you were like, did you see that cow or anything like that?
At that point, no, I had been running with a guy for a big chunk of the race. We just got on
Okay.
really well.
Okay, good. That's good.
But I left him at one of the checkpoints because he was taking longer than I wanted. I could feel things seizing up. And I knew if I spent longer there, I'd struggle. So I had to leave him,
Right.
unfortunately. I just had to get
Right.
on. He was only 20 minutes behind me. But no, by the point I was hallucinating, I was literally on my own. I didn't even know if I was on the right course at one point because I lost signs and it was like, oh, so.
What are you telling yourself? So this is the longest race you've done, the hardest part about the longest race you've ever done. And at that point in time, had you ever hallucinated that much or this experience was, did you have something to rely upon because of past experience or was this whole
It,
thing like new ground?
yeah, no, it's not the first time. I've had it in previous races, but not as severe as that. This was literally everything I looked at looked different to what it actually was.
Do you finish inside a city? What's the finish line look like when
That
you're
was,
coming over?
yeah, so that you end up, so one of the major towns, Keswick in the Lakes, it's quite a popular tourist town. So you actually
Okay.
finish coming through the town. So there's just random people applauding, and then obviously people that are out supporting. And with that race, it was why I increased my Instagram because as I'm coming through the town, one of the official race people was like, "Oh, there's a runner. Can I film you?" And she literally just ran behind me, filming me, and then speeded it up and put it on Instagram. So it looks like I'm going fast, but it looks like
Ah,
a Tom and Jerry cartoon because my legs are going like this, but I'm not really.
right.
And that was a really good feeling. That sort of made it. And like you were saying earlier, you finish at night, you don't get the big cheers and stuff. It's still a hell of an achievement. I've done quite a few races where I finished at night, but finishing in the daytime, where you're just running past random strangers and they're clapping and as the emotions come out, you feel tears welling up, you feel like you're going to break down. It's great.
That's fantastic, man. Were you 100 yards before the finish line before the emotions start coming up, or not until you cross the finish line? And how did it work for you on this
With that,
particular race, with this particular length, in the middle of the day on a Sunday? You did it.
with that one, it was in the town centre. So it was a good half mile to go. I was fighting back the emotions then because it was just random people. And yeah, that was a tough one.
That's so cool, though. What a time to give you to get the energy from the crowd, right? I guess the
Yeah.
last half mile, this was impossible. You can't even believe you're actually finishing. Like, is this real? Am I still hallucinating or whatever? All the things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. And I had thoughts in that race that I wasn't going to finish, definitely.
how was what was were you afraid of cutoffs or were you just body?
No, it's just, so one thing I always tell people when they're getting into ultras is the one thing I have to work on is my head. Because it doesn't matter how fit you are, how much you train, how much you take on your nutrition, your water, you can get all that perfect. But if your head at some point in that race says you're not going to finish, Dave, and you start listening to that, you're not going to finish. It doesn't matter how good you are. During that race, when I was really struggling, my brain was going, "Oh, this is tough, Dave. You're not going to do it." And that was the biggest battle for me, was just fighting that urge to just quit and go, no. Because I know I'd regret it. I'd get up the next day, I'd feel all right, and I'd be like, I could have finished that. Because there's nothing wrong with me.
Did that hit you once, or did that keep coming back every 20 miles or 3 hours, or what how was
It
that
was
conversation?
There was a couple of times on the second, especially going through the second night, there was a couple of times that I couldn't get into my head where I was in the race and what I had left to do. And then there was one particular climb that I had in my head was a very short climb, and it wasn't. It just went on forever and ever, and because it was in the dark, I had no perspective. And the feeling when I came over the top of this and could see the lights down below and knew where I was just the best feeling ever. But that at that point, I was thinking, if I see a house, I'm just gonna knock on the door and stop, and that's it. I'm done. But I didn't.
That's some strength. That's some strength, man. That is some real strength. And thank you for like, it's impossible to have these conversations with another. I can have plenty of these conversations with myself, right? Because I know whose feet is operating his feet when I'm walking up, when I'm up this hill, and not even going to say I'm running. I'm just getting up that hill, but I'm not going to stop. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I say, listen, just don't stop. I don't care what you have to do. You cannot stop. Just don't stop. That's it. You don't have to do anything in particular. Just don't stop. That's one thing. You have one job to do. Just
Yeah,
don't stop. Right? You set the stage almost, but before we go to UTMB, tell me about Old Get Running. Tell me about Old Get Running first, because I just love it and I love it. And I don't identify, quote unquote, I never told myself I'm old. I don't characterize or call myself old. However, I have offspring. And those offspring probably, when the girls are probably, I don't know, 10 years old, they started to say, Dad, you're so old,
yeah,
right? Or whatever, right? So that I believe that the label of old is definitely for my kids. They can say it whenever they want. But
yeah,
I
yeah,
know it's an attitude. And so when your handle, Old Get Running, it's fun, it's open, it's interesting, and I like the kind of the messages you do. Just getting out in the world. So, did you have this Instagram account for a while? And what did you mean when that woman followed you, and like, did she tag you with your Instagram handle? Did you
yes,
have it at that time? Okay.
yeah. So it was like at the end, she said, "Oh, do you want me to put this on social?" And straight away, I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get running." And she just looked at me and laughed. I went, "Oh, honestly, if you go on Instagram and put in 'I'll get running' with underlined, you'll find me." And the next thing I'm back in the car, sort of checking, and there I am. And I'm thinking,
Oh, that's beautiful.
this
You didn't
worked.
even get home yet. You just finished the race, and she's like,
Yeah.
"You're up and."
And she posted it up, tagged me in it, and I just thought, oh, I quite like this. Yeah. Because I'm one of these people I don't care what I look like on a photo or a video. If I look bad, that's because I look bad. It's.
Yeah, but here's this. Don't tell anybody this. As we get older, man, we look good. There is no bad
Well,
photos of us. You know what I'm saying? I
no,
look you up. I'm
yeah,
like, this guy. I'm like, I like this guy because it's just him. But he looks how he looks because it's how he looks, right? So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you the same.
yeah, yeah. I don't try and fancy anything up, or I don't take 500 photos and then post the one where I'm actually smiling normal.
Yeah, no, and I just misstate things all the time. I catch something and like, just fuck it, I don't care. It's fun. Just post it. Who
Yeah,
cares? No
yeah.
one's gonna see it anyway, really. But my daughters though are a little different. One of them certainly. He's like, Dad, I'll show you how to do it. So we would go say, Dad, here's a camera. I'm doing this. I'm catching the magic hour. You're gonna do it, and I need you to take a bunch of photos. I'm like, okay, and I'm taking the photo and I'm framing it. She said, No, Dad, not like that. I want you to do this. She's like, do. I'm like, really? And she says, yes, do. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, do. I don't know what I'm doing. Doesn't matter. But she's able to look through. It's like, delete. Like, okay, that's her. That's her.
Someone,
I'm glad to have. I had one job. Just take 8,000 photos. Right. All right, Old Get Running is the star of the show, and finally, he's not messing around. There's no messing around here. He's decided that you're going to do this UTMB Australia race, and tell me about that. Tell me about how you knew about it. When did you discover it? How long did you want to do this race? And give me the setup. Like, how did you find out about it?
well, so it's always been on my bucket list since the first ultra I ever did.
Okay.
Well, actually, that's a lie. Probably the third ultra, because the first two I'd said I was never doing an ultra again. So
Right.
that's not strictly true. But then, so both my kids live in Australia. They moved over with their mum 15 years ago. She's got her headphones on. She can't clarify that. So it was like brilliant, Australia. And when I first looked it up, it was an independent race. It wasn't a UTMB, but it's in the Blue Mountains. It's 40 minutes from where they live. I want to do that race. And then for one reason and another, always had something on around the time of the race every year. So it was like, and this was the first year that I had nothing on in May. So I just entered straight away. Right, I've entered. I'll worry about flights and everything out closer to the time, and that's it, basically. So it's always been, I've done the full-on proper UTMB, the grand final, but this race was so much better because my kids were here. My son supported me. He's never supported me in a race ever because he's lived in Australia.
Right.
And then my daughter and my grandkiddie the next morning did the UTMB 1K race together, and it was just amazing. That's what you live for as a dad, isn't it? Seeing your kids do these great things and then them seeing you do something amazing. And it was, the whole experience was brilliant.
How much did you train differently? How many months did you have knowing it was happening? And did you have any little races in between the trainings, to before the UTMB race?
Yeah, so me and a colleague entered a new race at the Moreland Marathon back in the Lake District. It was just slightly over a marathon, or just slightly under, slightly over. And that was a test race. But I didn't, because of my incident at the Arc, I almost had to give a month off from training after that just to try and get my knee back up to speed. I didn't do anything on that leg. So I didn't really start training until end of February properly.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's tight. Did you rehab the knee, or what was the protocols you had to do to try to get it better?
Basically just rested it up. Yeah, I'd normally go to see a physio, but I didn't. If I'm honest, my worst fear was they'd go, I wouldn't do that race. Because my physio's really good on my chiropractor, but if she tells you not to do something, you don't do it. Otherwise, she won't see you again. And I really didn't want to risk that. So I thought, I'm just not going to see anyone. I'm just going to see how it goes. And so I literally just rested it for a month. And then I got a decent knee strap and just started doing gentle runs, taped it up, did lots more squats and lunges, and some resistant band training just to try and strengthen it up. And it worked, which amazed me. Yeah.
Sometimes I think one of the reasons I like your account is I can see that. So I try to figure it out. Okay, you got the registration for the Arc, and then then we see the knee recovery kit and a compression the legs. So I can tell, and then you get ready to do the Moreland. So there's something about the history, I think, of how we show up, not really for social media necessarily, but you're showing up for yourself. You're just out there running, man. You're just doing the things. You're doing the things that you got to do. And I think that's probably when it was just a couple of months ago for me to start seeing you, see you show up. I don't remember what was the first one I saw of yours, but then I went backwards and looked at these other posts. I'm like, oh, this guy's onto something. He's going to show up, and we'll see what happens. You get to so at the start line of the race, is their family with you? I don't know how did it work. Do they know, or do you have support for the 100K?
Yeah, so my son's there, but unfortunately my daughter couldn't be because obviously my grandson was so young. Because it was an early start. It was my wave went at 20 to 7 in the morning.
Yeah, it's still dark. I mean, I see the photos. I think. Yeah.
So it was 5 a.m. 5 o'clock start. We had to get up, but my son came up with me. And with those events, there's so many checkpoints your support crew can go into. And AD, my son, was like, I'll probably do 1 or 2, Dad, and then I'm going to have to get some sleep. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. If I work on the knowledge, you're not going to be at any. If you are, it's a nice surprise. If you're not, that's fine. They'll have food. And he ended up going to everyone he could do in the end and getting no sleep whatsoever because he got totally hooked by the whole atmosphere and the whole driving around the mountains and trying. And he did the age-old thing because I've supported before. You think, well, I'll have plenty of chance to get an hour's kip. But then you lay there with one eye open thinking, looking at the time thinking, oh, well, what happens if they're quick? Right. He'll be in 20 minutes. And so he got no sleep at all, bless him. So.
But what an experience he had, right? I bet he said he'd do it again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
He really enjoyed it. So yeah, that was great to see him.
Did you have, it's 100K. Did you stop did you have drop bags on this race or how does that work?
You could have more than one drop bag, but I only had the one. That was quite a new thing to me. I've only ever done races where you have one drop bag. But they had 3 feed stations, and then you could do a drop bag for the end. And I just thought, I don't know what to put in 3 drop bags.
Right. Where was the drop bag? Was it like halfway, 50K, or how did that work?
Yeah, there was one just before halfway, one just after, so about 10, 15K after, one about 10, 15 before, and then there was one literally 20K before the end, which I thought, well, that's pointless putting anything in that one in my head. So I went for the one just after halfway, and it was just literally clean trainers, clean socks, extra gels, a bit more food, dry top.
Dry.
Yeah, left there. That was the longest one I stopped at. I stopped there for about half an hour.
Okay. Was time an issue? I didn't really study. I don't know.
No, not really, but the one thing I've learned over the years, that the longer I spend it sat down enough, the more my legs start seizing up, and then it's harder to get going again. So especially in the early feed stations, I literally fill bottles, grab some food, take on an extra bit of fluid, and then go.
And just go, get out.
And just keep going, especially while my legs are feeling good.
So you finished this. I'm looking at trying to see what time of night when you finished this.
It was about 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Okay. Dark. Great image though. You're by yourself. Pretty cool. Like this, right? You got the. That
was the whole relief. Can't believe I've done it. If I see one more staircase in my life, I shall just have a breakdown. I think that was that whole. Honest, I've never seen so many stairs in all my life.
Look at that. Look at this guy. Couple of days, he's ready to go. What the heck? What is this guy? He's like Superman. Look at that. I'm
still amazed I did that, to be honest.
I can't. How many days was this?
Literally 2 days. And that's unheard of for me. Normally it takes me a week to recover, but for some reason, 3 days, yeah. It was the Wednesday, I think. So that whole comes from, so my daughter's getting married in a couple of years, and her husband does a dance called the Hakken. It's a Dutch dance.
Okay.
Where they kick legs out, and they do it in Australia. So that was me doing my impression. If you actually Google Hakken dancing, it looks nothing like that.
I don't know, man. I don't need to Google it. I'm gonna just go ahead and accept that that's how you do it. Because look at that, you're coming over the finish line like that. I just love it, man. It's just, it's absolutely impressive. And I think it's cool. Yeah. Very cool that you came in like that. So now, was this a race where, because we know about the ARC challenges for sure, and you had a couple months, but you'd run long distances before. Your distance wasn't your thing. And UTMB, well, you weren't a stranger to UTMB either. It's exciting, but the kids are there, all the things, it lined up just right. Was there a moment during this 100K? Was there a moment when David visited David and said, "Dude, this ain't gonna work. You're not gonna be able to do this"?
Yes, but only briefly during the night on the last bit. Quads always go, but they went a lot later than they normally, so I felt really good through the race, thinking this is unheard of for me. I'm still running up till about 10, 15K. I was still running quite fluidly. And then they just went, and then it got dark, and then the steps started, and my brain did start going, these steps are never ending, I'm not sure I'm going to make it. And then I just thought, well, no, I'm going to make it, because I know I've got less than 10k, I could crawl that. And like you said earlier, I just give myself a good talking to and said, no, I could crawl this now, I've got so much time in the bag. You know, I had almost 9 hours to finish it at that point.
Wow. Okay.
So I just thought, I'm going to finish this. I think that you had to be in by about 11:30 that morning. So I could have had 6 hours kip and probably still finished. So I just gave myself a good talking to and said, just keep going, one foot in front of the other. At some point, this will end.
Right. Well, congratulations, because it was like just a nice, perfect story. You
Yeah.
had to wait to get there. It took a while. It wasn't the first year, second, third year, all the things. So, and you did it. So congratulations. What a good story to tell.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there more races in Australia you think you'll go to?
No. Although my son's getting married this time next year, the kids have said that they're aiming to do the 11k UTA race. And if that's the case, I might just enter that. But yeah, no, I've done that. I've ticked that one off. I won't be doing that one again. But it has opened another door, because there is one other race that's been on my bucket list, and I didn't realise this is how much I didn't look into this race, because I just knew I was going to do it.
Okay.
I didn't know I'd get all these goodies. But it's a qualifier for you should know this race, the Western States in
Yes.
endurance.
Of course.
Qualifying race for that, and I've again come close to entering that in the past, but there's always something got in the way.
What's the name of that race?
The what, sorry?
What's the name of the qualifying race?
So the one I've just done. So the UTA-K.
Okay.
Look, literally the other night started thinking, I need to think about the Western States now. Let's see what races I can do. And the race I've just done cropped up as a qualifying race. I don't have to do anything now. I just have to enter the lottery for it.
Okay. Check that box. Yeah, there are people who are chasing races, Western States qualifiers, so they can keep getting little tickets. They get a little, you add up the amount of entries you get, so that supposedly it increases your odds of being able to be selected. I think last year was more than 4,000 people, and of course, it's just a very small group of people.
It's a very small.
So that's cool that you did that. So what's next? How do you set your calendar?
I don't really. I just tend to, when I start thinking of races, I'll just start looking. I've got nothing scheduled in for the rest of the year. That's mainly because I'm hopefully moving house and stuff, so I don't want to be booking stuff in. But I've already got 2 races. No, yeah, 2 races next year.
What are those?
At the moment. So the first one is one I deferred from this year, because it's about this time of year, called the RLA60.
Okay.
So the Isles of Scilly, which are off the coast of Cornwall. It's a very small cluster of islands, and there's only the 4 main inhabited ones. So the race is, you start on one island, you run round it, and then you get on a boat, and it takes you to the next island.
Cool.
And it's all done with the tide. So if you miss the boat, that's it. You're out the race. So you've got to get to the boat before low tide. Then you run around that island, then it takes you to the next one, and then you finish on the first island, and it equates to 60 miles.
That's cool. So it's another 100K or less than that. 60 miles, 60K. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. How many people do that? That sounds so much fun.
It's limited to the boats. So they only have 2 boats. I think it's a bit like the Western States. Probably less than 100 people.
Okay.
So he started with 1 boat. He's now gone up to 2 boats because it was getting more and more popular.
Okay, that's cool. What's the other one? That's pretty cool. I never heard of such a thing. That's cool.
And then the other one was one, so the guys that we did the Arc, they're all desperate to do a 100-miler, so they've chosen supposedly the flattest 100-miler in the UK, which is the Robin Hood 100.
Okay. I saw one of those posts on your Instagram feed. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was entered 2 days after DNF in the Arc. It was like, right, let's do that.
I don't know about flat. How do they really think? Because it's not on street though. It's a trail run though. It's not like on the
Yeah,
road or
and there are hills, but they're nothing brutal. But it's Robin, because it's Nottinghamshire, so it's in Sherwood Forest where Robin Hood comes from.
I see.
Yeah. So that's
When
pretty interesting.
I think that sounds good. When I looked into UK races and endurance, and I don't know how, must have listened to a podcast at one point or another, and it came up, but I did some digging in the spine. And so there's so many spine races now. And
people quite often say, if I thought about it.
the whole spine, forget the whole spine, but they have all these little baby races, you know, so you got to get like spine adjacent, spine friendly. You know, you do a little portion of the summer spine or the
and they do the 2 halves, and they do the summer, they do the winter, which is the main one, which is brutal, and it does pique my interest. And people quite often say, why don't you do that? I just don't think I could basically do an ultra, go to bed, get up and do another ultra. My biomechanics, I don't think, would let me do that, not successfully. And
and 6 days in a row in the cold, in the snow.
It's tough. You know, anyone that finishes that, it's just, you know, a hero to me. It's just a different level. There's ultras, there's 120-mile ultras, but multi-day ones, that's just a whole, and it's getting the training in for that. I'd just never do it.
That's, for me, that's but I have looked at some multi-day events that might be, I'm just looking all around for a lot of different things. But when I looked at the spine, that's the other thing I was able to do. There's people over 60, thousands around the world, that, David, that are doing these kinds of things. So there's a woman at Cocodona, the Cocodona 250, right? Just happened recently, right? In Arizona, 250 miles. 14 started who were between 60 and 69. Nobody started after older than 69. There was nobody older than that. But the 14 oldest people started, and 3 of them finished. So let's say that for a second, right? A 250-mile race, 14, let's do it. But 3 of them actually finished, and one of them is a woman.
Right.
And just older than me. She's 64. So very happy that she's pretty amazing. And I think when I see that, I'm like, man, there's so many more stories to tell.
That is so inspirational, though, isn't it? Because like you say, you just think, well, you're not done. I think it's one of those things you're only done if your brain lets you, or your body lets you down. If your body's still going, then you're not done.
I think the conversation that David has with David, or Mark has with Mark, or whatever, Mark, that guy inside my head shows up in almost every long run, training run, including races. Now, sometimes he only visits for a split second, but I know that it's there. And I realized, for me anyway, I stopped trying to just get rid of that guy. Because I think for a long time, I was trying to just not have him, just kill him off. And then I thought, I can't do that. It's definitely a part of me. It's part of the brain. I can't do that. And so now, but now, when I'm out on the trails, there's a lot of self-talk, right? Is what we call, right? So sometimes it's quiet, but sometimes I don't. And sometimes I talk out loud. I'm like, no way, man. I'm going to just keep my head. I don't want to see that hill, top of the hill. I'm going to put my head down and I'm going. I'm not stopping. There's no reason to stop. I get zero reason to stop. I'm not stopping. And I think sometimes, no, not sometimes, all the time, it helps because I got to talk to that guy. I got to acknowledge that he exists and then tell him to shut the fuck up or sit back down. Or I don't need you. I don't need you. Maybe there might be.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right,
that Mark doesn't know what he's talking about. Talking rubbish. And
I don't know if it's related to, is it the same David that told David, I don't know if you can do this. I don't know if that David also gets to have the ability to say, you're going to break your bones if you keep going. I don't know if it's the same David or if it's a different David. The guy that you talked at the medic tent at mile 16. I think it's got to be a different David. There's a David who's just like a dick, and he's just like, give me bad advice. Right? I don't need that fucking guy. But there's another David who's like, look, man, we're going to live to run another day. You're going to, right? What do you think?
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah, there's definitely a rational David. The irrational David's the one that's telling me to quit when actually there's nothing wrong with me. That's the one you have to ignore or talk over or tell him he's an idiot.
Right.
Rational David's the one that, yeah, made me pull out of the arc.
Can we get rid of the David we don't need, do you think?
No, definitely think you need that bit of David. I'd say if I was doing that race for the first time and I didn't have this race, I would have probably ignored the medic and carried on. So I'll just keep going as long as I can. I might run it off, I might not. But at that point, it was weighing up everything that was going on. I thought, no, it's not happening. Right
Yeah.
decision.
Oh, that was the right David.
Yeah. Whether that David had come out again, I don't know.
We'll see the next time. I guess we'll see the next time, right?
Exactly.
So how, aside from, so your Instagram handle's old_get_running.
Running.
So how else do you pay attention to socials? Do you want to tell stories of people? Are you involved in any charities that you push forward or anything like that? Like how can people get to know you?
I'm going to be doing some work hopefully for an ADHD UK based charity this year. Become an ambassador for them. But I only really use Instagram. The old Get Running page, it wasn't called that. It's not my main Instagram account, but it was when I just started to post my runs and stuff. But then I like the gadgets, I like the cameras, to be honest. So it's sort of, yeah, get out there. And, and at some point, I quite fancy putting bits of advice on that. But what I don't like are these people that have been running a few years and tell you what to do, what not to do. Because I just think, I've been running 12, 13 years and I still don't consider myself a runner. So when people ask me for advice, I struggle because I think, well, what works for me might not work for you. So, but there are certain elements that I think are important, which I quite fancy bringing into it. But it's a bit like you said, to me, it's more showing the real side of running. If I take a video of myself and I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards, put it up there, because you see too many videos. I think my new tagline I'm going to start putting is, I'm going to be the antidote to young, good-looking runners. Because you see them all made up, their hair's immaculate, and they're doing a nice selfie. And then there's me
With no
with my
shirt,
hair.
no shirt on. Yeah.
Yeah, all ripped muscles, and then there's me, hair everywhere, slobbered down my face. I'm like, this is what real running looks like.
That's funny. Yeah, I think the times when I try often to not give a fuck, but there's times I just like to capture something because I'm having fun. That's usually when I hit that record button, something funny just happened to me. And nobody else might think it's funny at all, but so this morning, literally, I did a long run yesterday and it was really great. And I didn't cover that much vert. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I thought for sure I was climbing all morning. But I wasn't. So I did another run today, was just a couple miles less, and I covered the same amount of vert. Anyways, it was funny to me. They were saying, but one of them is a really steep area. So I started to record acting like I'm, really going to instruct people, which is not what I ever try to do. I was like, well, an out and back course is when you literally start at a point and you turn around and come back. But my point was, as I was recording that, I knew I was hitting this downhill that the uphill was a pain in the butt. And so I was going to hit this downhill and I was trying to time it just right. And it worked because as I was going, I'm like, I can't look at the camera and do what I need to do, which is pay attention to the street because it's so steep. I'm flying. I'm like, look, it's gravity, baby. Let's go. Right. So when I do that, then that's when I feel like, oh, yeah, that's all. It's just for me. You know what I mean? It's just for me.
But then you will find people that are watching and go, yeah, I totally relate to that. That's,
yeah, exactly. And I have seen a lot of people, older people too, who start, there's sometimes they want to give advice and there's a lot of people, I don't know if you find this, but I feel like there's a handful of people who are out there that kind of shame, they're trying to age or shame you old people. Like, come on, you can run. Anything, just stay on the couch. You're going to just rot to death. Or come on, man. We all made it past 60. We all made it past 60 already. Why you got to shame somebody? Just come on.
Exactly.
Tell them to come on out. Tell them your story about how your story between the couch to the sidewalk. This is what it looked like, and it took this. That's all. but don't have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say, get your fat ass up and go. I'm like, whoa, man.
No, and I think it's the problem with social media. It gives everyone a platform to criticise, doesn't it? That's the thing. And like you say, you don't need it. What you need is encouragement. You need people going, well, you
What
don't
you
look
need is
60,
old
go
get
for it.
running with the what you need is old get running with the little tripod on the rock, and he's doing a selfie. I'm like, what's this guy doing? He's got a stick, he's got a thing. And anyway, I saw that and we commented about that.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
fun. I can tell dude is out there just trying to, capture a moment and have some fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's just capturing what you do, what you
I
enjoy.
hope I tell you two things. Number one, I hope your first podcast experience was a good one. Number two, you got more stories to tell, man. Come on. I love it. You got to tell other people a story about the couple of Davids, right? You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
confirm that if the bone's sticking out, we're almost certain we're not going to finish,
yeah,
not going to
yeah,
continue. But if the bone's not sticking out, then we're almost certain that we will at least finish, right? That's
yeah,
your aim.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, if it's just fatigue, everyone gets it. That's not really.
Right.
Yeah. I know people that are DNF because they're just tired, and then the next day they instantly regret it because they think, well, I could have just carried on.
Yeah, I heard I was listening to a lot of podcasts with 100-mile about people after 100-mile races and when they decide to stop. And one thing I heard so many times, so I'm thinking, okay, this must be some legitimacy to this. If you're in a 100-mile race and you're just done, you're going to stop. There's a headache, you got whatever is going on, even if you're in pain. And across the board, they're like, stop. It's almost like I can hear a mother and their children, when the kids get antsy, but they're like, stop, have some food, take a minute, just go ahead and take time. Take 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it takes. But don't decide you're going to leave just yet.
Yeah,
Put
yeah,
some food in your body, put on some dry things, and then you'll decide.
and
Even
yeah,
take a nap, right? And because these people would share that story, and they would say too many times, like you finish and you get in your car and you're by the time you get to the hotel, you're already second guessing, like, what did I just
yeah,
do?
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
I think I'm going to try to use that. All right, we covered so many things, man. There's got to be something you didn't tell me yet. Come on, what do you got? What do you got? Anything?
No, just yeah. Um, where do you start? But yeah, no, running is good. It's something I never did. It's something I thought I'd have stopped doing by now, but it just keeps you going, doesn't it?
All right, so here's the one question I ask everybody who's over 60, but you fit into this new category. I'm talking to people who haven't yet gotten to 60, right? So tell me, here's the question. Here's a question, David. The answer to the question why, like, why do we run, right? Has your answer to that question, has it changed as you've grown older?
Yes. Yeah. Only because I started running because of the relationship I was in at the time. Now I find I run because it quite literally is good for my mental health. Now I know what I'm afflicted with, shall we say. Is I have some of my best thoughts because you've got to concentrate on the running. You can't let your mind wander onto other stuff. And it really does give me clarity. So yeah, for that main reason, I don't think I'll ever stop running, even if I start
Okay,
reducing the
that's the
distance.
question. So you have to run.
Yeah, yeah. I feel with races, well, not just racing, training runs, anything. Yeah, it is. I know, and I always used to hear that before I got diagnosed. People go, "Oh, it's good for your mental health," and I'm thinking, is it? I don't know because I hate ultras.
Right,
They're just oh.
right.
But now, yeah, I'd say it is. But only good if you've got a diagnosis. If you're suffering with depression and stuff and you don't know why, it might not. But I think it helps getting a diagnosis so you know where it's going to help you.
Yeah, 100%. When Mark's talking to Mark, it's only because Mark did a little work on Mark's self. And so it was one thing to get a diagnosis and then finally pay attention to it and really seek out the kind of expertise that will help me understand the various versions of this guy, including the guy who, as early as a couple of hours ago, when I was traipsing up the hill, he was like, he showed up, and he didn't have to say anything. I just knew he was right over my shoulder.
He was just,
Motherfucker,
yeah.
I'm climbing these.
Just
I'm
sort of,
not looking. And I put my head down. I'm like, I'm not looking up, because I knew where I had been there before. Like you said, had this familiarity with the course. And I know this one grind was just way up, and it is steep, and it's no joke. And but it done it many times. And so in my head, I had to restate for myself what that hill meant and what it
yeah,
was. So it was not something to be, I couldn't be defeated, and there's no way it was going to defeat me. And then it's also not something to be ignored or avoided or pretend it doesn't hurt or pretend it's not there. Like none of those things. So I think Mark, that Mark guy, that was the only tools he had. And so the tools he was going to try to use, I wasn't having any of those tools. So
yeah.
never said a word. And you never really said a word today, but today I just put my head down. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go.
Ignore it.
Here we go. Let's go. Anyway.
Blank him.
All right.
Pretend he's not there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, or just
Good advice.
All right. But Dave, this has been a pleasure, man. Really nice to see you. Nice to hear a little bit about your story. I'm going to follow you around and on Instagram, and we'll keep following you and stay in touch and cheer you on and all those good things. Okay.
Oh, brilliant for that.
Sound good?
Yeah, thank you, Mal. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Good.
Thanks
Excellent.
for inviting me on.
Until next time, my pleasure, man. We'll see you next time.
Fun.
Thanks, man.
See you again.
Okay, bye.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.